Hi Floss Tube, my name's Dana and my channel name is Gemstone Stitches. I'm back to do an update. I had planned to come back at the end of February, but I had a new start that was a present and I needed to finish it between my last video and the end of February. So it turned into monogamous stitching in February. I didn't have a lot to show for a whole video, so I thought I'll just do it all towards the end of March. I gathered up my stuff. I'm excited to show you everything. Lots of fun stuff. But now it seems like I have a lot to share in one video, but that's okay. It means I'm having a lot of fun and doing a lot of projects and stitching a lot, or as much as I can, I guess. I'd like to be stitching more. Don't we all want to be stitching more, right? But let's get into it. So the last that I updated you, I was in the thick of getting ready to go to Florida with my family for my sister's wedding. And after the video was over, I was thinking, what present should I get my sister? She didn't have a registry, and I thought, why don't I do some sort of cross stitch? And they are Disney people, so I thought, okay, I'll look online for a wedding cross stitch Disney. I googled that and I got some things that popped up, and the project that I liked the most was found on Etsy, and it's called In This House We Do Disney, and it's by BeesCrossStitch. So, In This House We Do Disney, BeesCrossStitch, and this is what it looks like. So it says, in this house we let it go because Hakuna Matata and the bare necessities will always be our guide to infinity and beyond. Reach for the sky when all you need is faith, trust, and a little bit of pixie dust. We whistle while we work with a bippity boppity boo. No one is too old for fairy tales. We believe in happily ever after. We do Disney. So I thought that was perfect because the happily ever after part with the castle on the top. And I had a piece of fabric that didn't work out for another project that I thought would be perfect since this is all just going to be one color. So I immediately purchased and downloaded it, and I got the fabric out to see what count it was. It was 32 count, so I calculated it and I thought, wow, if I stitch this 2/2, it's going to be really big. So I immediately decided I'm going to just do it really tiny and do 1/1, because I didn't want it to be too big to travel with, and also I didn't want them to feel like they have this big thing to hang up in their house that I gave them. Just wanted it to be small. So I got it together. I was able to kit it up right away, and that night I started stitching, and I spent, after the kids went to bed, I did a good, 2 hours of stitching. So I thought, I gotta get this going so I can finish it. And I barely had anything done. I had like a little bitty part of the castle done. And it's kind of like a Haid. Although it's only one color, it's not confetti, but it's as fast as a Haid. It's just full on stitching, and it's teeny tiny, and there's a lot more stitches than what it looked like to me. So to give you an idea, it's 176 stitches wide by 404 stitches high. So I didn't really look at all that part when I was purchasing it. I was just like ready to go. So I stitched on it a few nights, and I realized either I'm gonna have to stitch on this throughout the year because it's not gonna get done by the wedding time, or I can shorten it. So I thought I could just take out all those words and just have, in this house, we believe in happily ever after, we do Disney, which takes out a good chunk of it. So I was stitching on it a few more days and I realized, wow, I'm still barely getting through this castle. I said, all we need is the castle, happily ever after, and then I put their names on the bottom with the date of their wedding. That's perfect. So that's what it ended up being. I'll have to insert a picture because I already was able to gift it and give that to them. So I don't have it in my possession anymore. So here's a picture of the project. I found a frame, just a plain black frame from Walmart, and it was, I think, by Better Homes and Gardens, and it was very sturdy frame. I can't remember if it was like a hard plastic or metal. I think it was a hard plastic, but it definitely wasn't a cheapy feeling frame. It was very sturdy. And then it had not glass in there, but it was a plastic, like almost had a blurriness to it, I think, to help it not be so reflective. So it wasn't like museum quality glass or anything, but it was some sort of better plastic covering, which I thought was great because A, there's going to be less reflection, and B, if I'm traveling with it, it's less likely to break because it's not glass. And then it came in a nice box too. So once I FFO'd it, I put the whole thing back into the box and wrapped it like that. So it worked out really, really well. And this fabric that I had on hand is a 32 count Crystal DaVinci Lugana. And since it ended up so small, I was able to have a chunk of it left over. So here it is. That's a better, it's very purple. When you go close up, it looks more gray, but it's very bright purple. And then it has some orange flecks in it, or modeling. I think the part that I used had more orange at the top for around the castle, so it almost looked like a sky. But you can see there's also opalescent in it. It's very sparkly. So I can use this for something else, and I still have the sticker on it, so I know what count it is and all that fun stuff. So that was, I finished it a little bit before we left, so I was able to stitch a little bit on something before we went, but not much. So that took up basically my whole February. Totally worth it. They loved it. The wedding was a lot of fun. It was at this great location that had everything at the venue that you needed, and it was right on a lake. Here, I'll put in a picture of the family. It's not the best photo. But yeah, my son was the ring bearer, my two daughters were flower girls, and then I was the maid of honor. And then after the wedding, we went to Disney, which was a lot of fun. We just visited Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. So on the way to Florida, I needed a project to bring with me. We drove from Vermont to Boston, which is about 3 hours, and then flew to Florida because it was a direct flight from Boston to Florida and also cheaper. So the project I decided to bring with me was Victorian Dollhouse by Joan Elliot. I'm stitching this one on 32 count Ariel Cashel linen. So it's like a blue it almost looks like a sky. So here's where I'm at. I am focusing on this room right here, trying to get this all the way done. And I think I might bring in this little room too. Down here is just when I was stitching on the chair and had some extra thread, so I kept stitching down here because the wallpaper in the room below is this pink. Lots of details, like lots of woodworking throughout and different colors of wood, I guess, paneling around wallpaper. I mean, it's a full coverage. So what I'm working toward is finishing all this stitching in this area and then doing the back stitch, and then I'll move on to another section. I do want to bring this out more throughout the year and see how much I can get accomplished on it. I'm glad I'm getting through this right now because the way that the pattern is, the paper pattern, it's in 4 sections. So this is the center is somewhere in here. So, and it's not just one piece of paper. You fold it open and it's a large piece of paper. So when I'm working on this, I have to have all 4 pieces of the pattern to work on the corners. I'm looking forward to getting out of that area, and then I can focus more on one section of the house, either up here, down here, down here. But I like that the linen I chose looks like the sky because you could see some of the fabric will be showing. This will be a long time project for sure. Okay, and then we had another little trip, not a trip, it was like a 45-minute drive, but to me it means I should bring cross stitch in case I get a chance to stitch in the car. So I ran into my stash and picked a small project that would be easy to bring with me because this one's a little bit bigger and you don't know exactly what color you're gonna need. So I decided on my Ink Circles Forest Flower. Now, I haven't brought this project out in forever. And it's because I don't really have a lot of motivation to have it finished anytime soon. It's just something that's there. I do want to finish it eventually. I'm not in love with it because I picked my own colors. I changed the colors, and I do like the colors, I suppose, but I feel like I probably could have done a little bit better job. But there's a wonderful memory tied to this project that makes me want to finish it and just hold on to that memory. It was when I first moved to Vermont, my son was 2, and I knew there was a cross-stitch store about an hour away from where we were staying. And one day I downloaded Bambi onto the iPad and took Ethan with me to the cross-stitch shop, let him watch that on the iPad while I shopped and looked around. And I wanted to buy a pattern and pick some nice threads to go with it. So I ended up with this, but I wasn't in love with the blue, green, browns. So I believe I wanted to look this up. I forgot to. I don't know if it calls for this kind of thread, but I think it did call for these threads. It must have, or else I just really liked the colors of one of the colors and decided to go with this brand. But I have the Gentle Art Simply Shaker sampler threads is what I'm using. I did end up having to change the color on one part because this purple got lost on the fabric. So I did pull out a DMC for 2 parts of it actually. And I'm stitching it on 32 count Smoky Pearl Belfast linen, and I wanted it to be tiny, so it's 1/1. And that's how far I am. So I've basically been working more on this corner because I believe about this whole corner was finished. The center was finished, or as much as is finished. It looks like I need to do a little more down here, but I'm just working on these swirls, very tiny. So I have grape leaf. I'm not using this one anymore, Misty Harbor. Black Raspberry Jam was the color I loved. It has purples in it, but you can't really tell. Almost all looks blue, but there's purples in there. Dungarees. Yep, I think that's the other color I'm not using because it got lost on the fabric. And then Island Blue. So I have these pretty fancy flosses. And then I think I changed the blue to this brighter green. And then the light purple, I got this brighter purple out. I am traveling. My father wasn't able to go to the wedding. He's not well enough to travel to the wedding in Florida. So I am leaving this weekend for a long weekend to visit my dad in Texas, my family in Texas, and see my dad. So I will be bringing this with me. So if I have a chance to stitch, I have something small to stitch on, get a little more progress on it. And then the next one I brought out, which is my other finish, is Welcome Winter by the Drawn Thread. This stitches up pretty quickly. Like the letters, unlike that Disney thing that I stitched, this stitches up really fast. And I loved it. I loved it, loved it. I do need to finish one part of it. There are buttons that are supposed to be in here, but I can't find the buttons that are needed. They're really, really, really tall, small. Tried to say tall, but I meant small. But here it is, finished. I have pine cones in the W, a scarf for the E, some snowflakes on the L, little snowman. That's where the buttons come in. There's supposed to be 2 little buttons on him and then a button on the end of his hat down here. Then there's a house, which I had to fudge the O a little bit. I can't even tell you exactly what I ended up having to do there, but I was a little off on the O. And I love there's smoke coming out of the chimney, and it travels on into the M area with the pine tree and the bird, and then a big cardinal with some hollyberry, I guess. There are some specialty stitches in there, especially in the snowflake. And then the pine needles. The scarf has some straight stitches. very fun little stitch. And I was able to finish it in winter, surprisingly. Though maybe I can finish all of them in the year. We'll see. One thing I realized I made a big mistake on is I just did not realize how small it was. But look how big this fabric is. And look how small the stitching is. I should have stitched it up here so that I would still have a good chunk of fabric left. I mean, I suppose if I have any more long, narrow stitches, I could use the bottom and the top. But I won't be making that mistake twice on the other ones. I'll be, you know, stitching it more on one side of the fabric. So yeah, here's the little buttons and that one. So if anyone knows where I can find these little 4mm buttons, let me know. I need, I think, 2 black ones and a red one. I think what I'm gonna do is finish this on cardstock or foam board, but I'm gonna put something in there to make it just a little more padded looking. And then on the top, I'm gonna find like a ribbon. I'm thinking on this one, some sort of like Christmas plaid, green and red, and kind of put it on the bottom and maybe even some white lace on top of that. Do something fun and put it on a piece of wood that I could switch out for each season. So that's that one. The next one I pulled out was Esthers Waves by Northern Expressions Needlework. This is what it looks like, finished. And I was able to finish all the stitching, so that feels really, really good. So here is the bottom. Let me just fold this up. The bottom part where I had started some of the last 3 rows, and now the last row of Jessica stitches is done. These specialty stitches are done, and then the very bottom Jessica stitches are done. The person, I forget who would have written all the directions, but they said to use 2 threads in this specialty stitch, the one that goes around. But I decided to use 1 because that's what I did in all the rest. And then once I did a few, I realized, yeah, I see why she said to use 2. It just looked a little sparse. So I pulled a few of them out and redid them with 2 threads, but the center specialty stitch is done with 1. I don't know if you can really see. They're just so cool close up. But this is the whole thing, all finished as far as stitching goes, because there are beads in all of it. Especially down here, you can tell that this is very sparse looking. Needs something to fill out that space a lot more, and like up here as well. But there are beads in every single row of this. Even in the Jessica stitches, there will be a bead in the center of every single one. So I have my tacky bill ready and all my beads. I did switch out a lot of the beads because some of them were just, I did not like. For instance, this one. This is a matte looking bead. Doesn't have that shine sparkle to it. So I found beads that are more like to go in the greens so that they're more sparkly. And like for this yellow one, we have that sparkly yellow bead, and that will also be down here in this row. So I have a bead that matches every thread color. So it's gonna be so exciting to start that. I'm gonna have to pull my Heaven and Earth design off of my quantum frame instead of using a Q-snap on this so I don't crush the beads. Wow, I'm trying to think when I'm gonna start that. I'm gonna have to do that when I get back from Texas, I think. All right, and then the last project, the last WIP I've been working on these last few days is Up on the Rooftop by Tilton Crafts. And I started in this corner, moving my way across. Here's where I am now. So I did more of the sky, and then I just kept plugging away at different colors that are in the Santa. I still have some spots that need to be filled in Santa, but he's really getting there. It's looking really good. I love the way the snow turned out and the smoke from the chimney. Santa's looking pretty good. He's tiny, but he is red enough, I think, so he's gonna pop out of that blue sky. And you can see him, his boots are coming in, he's walking up the snow to go down this chimney. There's gonna be a big fluff of snow over this chimney here, then a ton of sky, and this is the beginning of a sled, and then more snow down here. Lots more snow down here. The sky is easy stitching. So usually I'll pick like 3 or 4 confetti type colors that go, sometimes that will go in here. They definitely go in the Santa and usually always go in this sled. And then once I get tired of confetti, I'll stitch a block up here. So I'm gonna keep chugging away on that for a little while longer, here and there. So you can see, wow, this is a little bit more rounded up, but this it's not as rounded out at the top. There's some indentations in there. And then, yeah, I noticed that these colors right here are not just this dark blue. So I can see how it's lighter there. But yeah, he's stepping on the snow. All the snow is coming down, and then here's the chimney. Or, not the chimney, the sled. If you look closely, there's toys. It's a little toy bag and everything in there. I'm trying to see. I guess that, yeah, I can see some of the colors coming in there. All right, so that's all the WIPs. And I told you what I'm gonna bring to Texas. I'm also going to bring this Sue Hills designs I started a long time ago. It's this little red heart. Just in case I get really tired of that one, I can work on this one. And I just got a really small start on it. Just this much. Just a red, and this is a pink. And I started watching some videos by Katie, I don't know how you say her last name, Katie Strachan, S-T-R-A-C-H-A-N, embroidery. So her channel name is Katie Strachan Embroidery, and she has some beautiful stuff that she does, really beautiful. And one way that she likes to finish her smaller projects is in a pillow, and then she does some sort of beading around the edge. It's so pretty. So I thought, that's exactly how I want to do this one. I want to finish this little heart into a little pillow, which I've never done before, and then I want to do the beads like she does. So there's like, I think you use a thread and sew on the beads yourself. I don't know how, but hopefully maybe she has a tutorial in one of her videos, or there's a tutorial out there somewhere. And then every half inch or so, there's like a little triangle of beads. So it's like 2 beads and then 1 on top, all the way around. So I thought I could find a really pretty red or pink bead. One day, who knows when I'll get all the way finished with that. And then my plans in spring, now that winter is over and it is spring, what I'm doing for the year is starting a couple projects in each season of the year for some seasonal stitching. So I'm going to start Celtic Spring by Lavender and Lace, and I am converting this one to have, it's going to be purple on the sleeve and on the front, and then this part of the dress is going to be green. So I did spend a little bit of time looking at that because I got one of these finally. This is a little book. It came a little bent up, which I was a little disappointed about, but it's okay. It's a DMC color card. And so you can open it up, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but it has all the DMC colors. So when you're trying to figure out color changes, you can do that. So I was looking at the greens, trying to figure out how I could do this. Let me look at it here first and then I'll show you. Okay, more so in this row, like the darker ones, but definitely some lighter ones. I picked some out. I need to look at it again. I have a hard time changing colors on projects. I think this is the last one I need to do myself. The rest of the Celtic ladies I'm doing, Celtic Noel is gonna just stay the same, but as far as autumn and summer, there are conversions out there, but I'm just using those conversions that somebody was so nice to share, and I'm not changing anything. So I'm happy about that because I'm not really enjoying color changing. I'm not very good at it. Sorry, I heard something like someone was coming in the garage. Okay, so the fabric that I chose is called, it's a 28 count Sprite Lugana. So it's a very, very pale purple. Maybe slightly pink, but mostly pale purple, just mottled. So I think it's gonna look really pretty. The green and the pink is green and purple is gonna look really good on it. And the reason I went with green and purple is because when I moved to Vermont, one thing I learned about well, I knew the winters were harsher than where I've ever lived before, and that they're gonna last a long time. Now I really know that they last forever. Like, we're still in the thick of it right now. It's getting better. It's still just cold, so you still have to put on a jacket, and it's called mud season because all the snow is melting and everywhere just got puddles and muddy. But today's a nice sunny day. It's not raining, but it is spring. And I did, a couple of years ago, I planted crocus bulbs and tulip bulbs and daffodils, and they're actually coming up. And what I learned a few years ago when I moved here is one of the first flowers that comes up in the springtime are crocuses, and they're very commonly purple. There's a green leaves that come out and then a little purple flower. So that's what this spring Celtic lady represents to me, and that's the reason why I want it to be green and purple. Very fun. And then I'll also start Welcome Spring by the Drawn Thread. This is a lighter color fabric than the last one, and mostly all of it is stitched with dinky dyes, and I think they call for a couple needlepoint silks and a Karen water lily in this one. This flower right here. I actually have it on hand from another Drawn Thread I did. I did all of the seasonal houses, and I loved that thread from that project, and so I'm happy to get to do it again. It's just so bright and vibrant and pretty, and I love working with the dinky dyes. They are so soft. Oh my goodness, so soft. So I'll start those at some point. Now I was watching another Floss tuber recently, and her channel is called the Northwoods Stitcher. And her video was just kind of a longer video that talked a lot about what she does with her stitching and her tips and tricks. And I was listening to it, and one of her tips was, when you purchase stuff, make sure you write it down. You can even use like different apps or functions on your phone to store all your information of what you have at home in case you're out and you're buying something, you don't want to buy it again on accident. But for me, what I took away from it is, when you're buying something, make sure you write down why you're buying it, because I received the stuff that I got in the mail, and it was still kind of in its packaging upstairs where I keep my stuff, and I was pulling it out to share a couple of things I purchased, and I was looking at the fabrics. I'm like, I don't even know why I bought this fabric. I'm not sure what it's even for. So anyhow, that happened to me. So from now on, I will try to keep track of why I'm purchasing certain things and what projects they go to. I'm not sure if I shared this in my last video or not, but I know I shared that I found this design. Someone had posted it finished on a Facebook page, I think. And it was so pretty, and I had to have it. It's called Jeweled Elephant, and it's Shannon Christine Designs. This picture does not do it justice because it's just electronically made. It's not the real stitching, and it doesn't have the beads or crinic. There's tons of beads and crinic on this and make it sparkle. I just thought it was super cute, and I love the colors, and I love sparkles and beads. Now I have 2 pieces of fabric. This one's a lot more green, and it's a 28 count sapphire Joblin even weave, which you'd think that would be more of a blue color because sapphire is usually blue, but it's more green. And then I also have 32 count French lace linen, and this is definitely a light blue gray. So I think I must have tried to purchase this for this project. But the fabric they said to use on there, I don't think it had told you what fabric to use, but they just said 14 count. So I'm thinking it's okay to use 32 count rather than a 28 count. I just need to make sure I don't, you know, none of the beads are too big. And then I just got some more needles. I got whatever was available. I had a lot of beads, but I only brought this bead down to show. It's like a bugle bead, but it's purple, purpley blue pink iridescent. It's just really pretty. And again, I don't even know. I know I bought it for a project, but I don't know what project. I got some peacemakers, some bone, and John James, just to have some more needles for when I need them. And that is it, I believe. I think that takes care of everything that I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I thank you all for your support. I've been having a lot of fun just watching videos lately. I've been trying to just go to like FlossTube #1 and find some more videos, because for some reason there's certain times of the month where I just have no new videos from anybody. And I'm like, well, geez, I think that means I need to subscribe to a lot more floss tubers, because you usually hear people talk about how behind they are and watching their floss tubes. And I'm like, I don't think I subscribe to enough people, because I have days where I don't get a new video from anybody, and I'm like, I need a new video. So anyhow, I've been searching up different floss tubers and trying to find some to subscribe to. I definitely subscribe to Katie Strecken, and I don't even remember her name, but her channel name is the Northwood Stitcher. Those are two that I've subscribed to recently. And yes, I think that's it. I hope you guys are all enjoying some more spring-like weather. I know I am enjoying seeing some of the, like I said, some of the flowers come out and the sun come out sometimes, and the snow's starting to go away. So we'll see how great of a spring we're gonna get. Spring tends to be the worst month in Vermont just because it's so short. It seems forever before it feels like more warm, and then before you know it just gets hot. Not very hot, but you know, it seems like it turns into summer more than an actual spring. But summer here is wonderful. It's just very mild and beautiful. So I'm looking forward to it after the long winter, and I'm looking forward to some spring stitching. Take care, everybody. Bye.